Good day, beautiful people, and welcome to Gumbo for the Soul, a podcast. This is a happy place. This is a welcome place, and this is a safe place. Today is Wellness Wednesday. Wellness Wednesday, and I wanted to talk about having carpal tunnel. Um, what it's like to have carpal tunnel. Like a day in the life of a person who has carpal tunnel. I was diagnosed with carpal tunnel several years ago. I know it's been over 5 years. I was diagnosed with carpal tunnel. There may be a lot of people who know what that is, but just in case you don't know, carpal tunnel is a syndrome. It's very common. It causes numbness, tingling, and pain in the hand and forearm. And I was double blessed. I have carpal tunnel um, on both sides. So I have carpal tunnel on my left in my left wrist and carpal tunnel on my right. The condition occurs when one of the major nerves to the hand, the median nerve, is squeezed or compressed as it travels through the wrist. In most patients, carpal tunnel syndrome gets worse over time. If untreated for too long, it can lead to permanent dysfunction of the hand, including loss of sensation in the fingers and weakness. For this reason, it's very important to get it diagnosed and to treat it promptly. Early symptoms. So these are some symptoms or ways for you to be able to tell if you have carpal tunnel or not. Like I said, you have numbness and you have tingling and you have pain in your hand or your forearm. It is basically it's an overuse injury. So if you do any type of work where you are uh, repetitiously, or if there's any type of repetition in your work, that would be, for example, uh, if you type a lot, if you are a cook or a chef, if you work on any type of production, in any type of production where you use your hands over and over and over. Like I said, it's an overuse injury. I first started having problems with my hands when I'm working at a company called Train. We used to put together air conditioning units and we used the air drills. So, that's when I first started noticing, problems with my hands, but, being young, you kind of brush that off. Then of course I went to the military, and being in the military, it's like being an athlete, you're doing a lot of the same things over and over and over. Of course, I was injured when I was in the military. My ankles, like I had stress fractures in both my ankles from being in the military. So that caused me to not be able to work on a job where you have to stand on your feet for a long period of time. So of course I got out of the military and I went ahead and got my teaching degree. And of course, when you're teaching, you have to do a lot of typing. So that's the repetitious part of being a teacher, because you do a lot of typing. Typing up lesson plans. Doing research. You're basically the position that your hands have to be in order for you to type. That's not really good for a person that has carpal tunnel. Also, one of my passions is also cooking. Which is why I wrote the cookbooks and everything. So, being a cook or a chef, you use your hands a lot, and your wrists control your hands. So, think about that when you're cooking, when you're mixing, when you're measuring, when you're pouring, all the different things that are involved. Cooking is a hands-on event. It's a hands-on activity. So, the more you use your hands, the more problems that you're going to have out of your hands. So you have to make a decision, a daily decision every day. It's either I don't use my hands or I use my hands. We use our hands every day. I mean, we have to write things. You have to brush your teeth. You have to put your clothes on, take your clothes off. You have to zip things. You have to button things. In the kitchen, when you're cooking, you have to cut things. You have to chop things. You have to dice things. You have to open things. You have to pour things. You have to stir things. You have to mix things. So with me living with this for, I know it's been over 10 years now that I've lived with carpal tunnel. Um, I have I have had to figure out ways around it, or figure out ways. to where it won't affect the daily activities that I have to do. But every now and again, if I use my hands too much, or if I do one particular thing for too long, my hands will just give out. They'll just give out, and I won't be able to use them. I have had the carpal tunnel release surgery on my left wrist. They wanted me to have surgery on both wrists, but I only had surgery on my left wrist. I was working for a pound cake company at the time, and so I didn't want to be without the use of both my hands, so I just did it on the left wrist, and I had to wear a sling for about a week. And I also had a new baby at the time, and my baby, of course, he didn't understand, what was going on, but fortunately his father, was there at the time, so he was able, to do everything when it came to taking care of my baby. Now, the issue with having carpal tunnel, I know it affects everybody differently, but these are the ways that it affects me. Whenever I'm cooking, a lot of the times I can't feel my pinky or my ring finger, and I also have problems with my thumb and my pointer finger. Like, I have severe pain in those areas. So just for me to do something that I love and enjoy, sometimes I have to take a break, like when it comes to mixing something. So I have figured out, all, like I said, all kind of ways to work around it. I use a mixer, I use a blender. Like, it's difficult for me to whisk things that need to be whisked. If I have to use a whisk to beat something, more than likely, I'm not going to do it by hand, or I'm going to have to ask somebody to help me when it comes to certain things like that. If I don't have a can opener, I have to have like the electric can opener, or I have to have somebody open the cans for me. So even when I'm cooking, I have to have help. Now, it's like I said, it's a lot of ways to work around that, and it's really easy for you to steal.